Hello and welcome to the Utropeia podcast. I am your host, Ken, named for Kenjamin Franklin, responsible for double lightning and super thunder. This week on the Utropeia podcast, we're going to be talking about chaos. And that thing that's the opposite of chaos that I don't really care for that much. My guests and special co-hosts this week are, of course, Anna Cranberry.
My name's Anna. Ken's totally not biased.
And Todd Ogredose.
I think the opposite of chaos is pancakes.
Let me just dab my cheek a little bit and get some of the sweat off of me. And from atop the moon on a shining golden prison, it's Chris Moonjump.
Moonjump.
By the way, the answer what you're looking for, the opposite of chaos, me. 'Cause I'm the law.
And coming to claim that which is truly his, Bill, Mr. YuVideo.
How's it going? I was taking a drink as you were saying that. I had to rush it.
It's good. No, it's dramatic effect. Like, I could have edited it to make it shorter, but now I'm not going to.
Now edit to make it longer.
Yeah, edit
No
to
more
make
lies.
it a little longer.
No more lies. Only chaos. And that other thing. The
Pancakes.
Moonjump. And pancakes. If you're a butter golem, every pancake is a napkin. Fantastic.
We're off to a good start.
We're off to a great start, actually.
We're
I'm
always
feeling
off to
pretty
a
good.
good start.
It's better than a false start, which is, then I have to start the podcast over again, and then we pretend like it didn't happen, and then we kill our clones. So we're talking about Order and Chaos versus this week. And we on this show, we talk about tropes, genuinely, like in comics, movies, video games, sometimes anime, and I won't explain what that means if you don't listen to the show. But if you don't listen to the show,
Dinsdale.
then welcome. Dinsdale is not with us. He wanted to be this week.
He also doesn't listen to the show.
Yes, he doesn't.
You know who does, though?
George. Our one true fan.
Hi, George.
Utropeia podcast does not think that George is the only fan of the show. But anyway, thank you for coming in and listening to us talk about tropes in the media. We talk about, who does it well, who does it badly, and we like to ruminate and think about what can improve them or make them better, because we like to make things and we like to judge things terribly. But another thing that we like to do is talk about what we're excited or bummed out about, because we're all friends here, and we get to talk to each other like maybe once a week. Some of us more than others, but so, Bill, Mr. YuVideo, what are you excited for this
Oh
week?
boy, I get to go first?
Yeah.
I don't have a lot, but I woke up much like you and Anna at like 2 o'clock in the morning last night. I got on Netflix and I got to watch The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, and that is one of my favorite movies ever.
Awesome.
And it hadn't been on there for a while.
Hey, you want to
because I
talk
check
about
it once in a while.
Chaos, the movie? Baron Munchausen.
Oh my god, it's so surreal. I love it. If you have not seen it, go on Netflix right now. Just pause this and come back in an hour and 20 minutes.
We'll still be here.
What?
We'll still be
wait.
here. It's okay. We'll wait for you.
You're coming back, right?
What was that other thing? I was playing WildStar a bunch.
Yay!
And a bunch of Steam games I got. I've just been video gaming it up.
The Steam week is over. It's gone. It's dead. It's never coming back.
That's something I'm bummed about. Is I got Cloud Built
Yeah?
for $2.99, and I get the freaking shader compiler error.
I
I have to jump through hoops to get that to work, so I just gave up.
You have to play Superman 64 to play it again?
Yes.
Terrible experience for everyone involved.
Sorry you had to find out this way. Awful. No one should have to play that game.
Awful.
Awful. Hey, Chris, what are you excited or bummed out about this week?
Well, like Bill, I too have been playing WildStar here for the last week, and it's actually it's a very fun game. I mean, it's got a really well developed world for being out for 3 weeks, something like that.
All right.
But yeah, it's actually done by members of the original WoW team, and actually relies more on being active and bouncing around. And I'm an angry hamster with a gun, so pretty cool.
That's so fun.
Besides that, I've just finished the first book of the Monster Hunter International series, which is by Larry Correia, which basically kind of deals with the world, all of the world's fairy tales and things like that are real, and most of them want to murder humans.
That's every fairy tale.
Seems reasonable.
Until Disney came along and, marketed it to kids.
Oh yeah,
It's a lie.
But the first book it's a great read. I mean, it's a book that's written like it should be a movie, because it's got a lot of action and guns and general comedy things, but actually, like, storyline wise, it's very solid. So I recommend, if you can pick it up for cheap. I think it's only like $6 on ebook on Amazon. But
Cool.
yeah, it's totally worth it.
Good. I'm glad to hear. I guess I'm next. I am excited about the fact that I played Spelunky, or Spelunky, if you want to play it while sober. It was on Steam. It's very fun. You are a little man, and you explore some Mayan caves. I watched some drunk guys play it, and it looked very easy, so I thought I would do very well. But it turns out it's a lot harder, and I die a lot more frequently, even when I'm sober. So that's, that's an interesting
Do you think maybe the ticket to success on that is just being drunk?
Yeah, just being so blitzed that you don't even care. I thought I was a better gamer, and it turns out I'm not. And I guess that's what I'm bummed out about this week. Hey, Anna, what are you excited or depressed about this week?
Oh, hi there. Hi. I'm excited because I had my birthday and someone very awesome purchased a certain console for me.
Who is it? Who is this person? Is he taller than me?
Really?
Okay, good. I can beat him up then.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah, I have a Wii U now, so I'm excited to get into that, start playing
Fireworks,
it.
yay!
I know they're excited too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I'm pumped for 4th of July.
Yes, 4th of
We're
July.
going back to Ohio and watching the fireworks there.
Yay! Not that we live in
Weather
Ohio.
permitting.
Because we don't.
To say fact, yes.
Hovering above the earth.
Wow. Our place just got upgraded in the Utropeia canon.
Who's gonna be like the king of the moon? We're allowed to have
Hey,
a sky
hey.
palace.
Back off the moon.
Stay away from the moon.
I don't think Chris chose the moon.
The moon shows him.
The moon shows him. But yes.
That's it.
That's it. That's good. Now it's canon. We live in a floating sky castle.
Man, I'm jealous of your guys' Utropeia canon.
Where does Todd Ogredose live?
Yeah, probably
In a swamp?
in an earth hole.
He rides atop a giant sea turtle.
That's pretty good.
That's kind of awesome.
But the sea turtle's always in an earth hole, though.
Like a big.
Oh, dang it! Is his house then perched atop 4 elephants? Hold it
On
up like
top of the
Discworld?
sea?
Well, in the Hindu
Exactly.
Utropean canon, yes. Of course it is.
Do we have different canons for different nations? Because,
Well-
man...
Yeah.
We're getting
Oh.
into some real serious.
This is a lore
stuff
building
here.
episode.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
Utropia multiverse. I am Pumpkin Vishnu.
This is gonna go awry very quickly, very, very poorly.
Hey man, I got the moon. That's in every mythos. That's easy. Just, drag and drop.
Dragon, drop the dragon.
Oh my!
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you from your house atop your sea turtle.
Oh, isn't it my turn now?
Yes.
I don't have too much I'm tremendously excited about, but I can't say bummed, really just more expectingly disappointed. I got to see Transformers: Age of Extinction.
How are those robots? Did you wish
Clanky?
that those movies were extinct?
I would like to note that I went into the film with the lowest possible expectations I could have, and it met every single one of those incredibly low expectations. So, good job, Michael Bay.
I'm not giving him any more money, so I
Yeah,
see
I
that.
was really struggling, and then I just said, I've seen the others, I almost feel obligated at this point.
See, that's how he gets you.
Yeah. Well,
You finished the trilogy, or whatever you want to call it. The Shia LaBeouf trilogy.
Remember when the Shia LaBeoufed it?
So,
it's funny because he got in a car accident.
Oh
no! But side note, when I went to go see that movie, another trailer for Dawn of Planet of the Apes, so a little something for me to be excited about there.
These apes are on horses and they've got shotguns. Holy shit!
It's so good. I'm so looking forward to that movie.
I think the only movie I'd watch that Michael Bay would direct is if he directed Beyblades, because then they would be Michael Beyblades.
Beyblades. Yeah,
yep.
Where's our bell?
They would...
Ding.
Yeah.
There we go.
I forgot about our bell. It's like not like we had a whole Kickstarter for it, and I ate a bunch of Taco Bell or anything. Not the Taco Bell. Yeah, that's probably why I did that.
Yeah. That's its official name in the Utropeia lore.
No,
it's the Taco Bell.
It is.
Fourth wheel is always better. But what's really good to taste and to talk about is Chaos versus Order.
Chaos versus pancakes.
Chaos versus butter golem napkins. So, when I talk about Chaos versus Order, what do you guys necessarily think of first? Or what do you necessarily lean towards? What kind of comes to mind when we talk about, and this is a general, so we're pretty much just anything that comes to mind. Maybe we'll talk more about Chaos, maybe more about Order, maybe more about the conflict, preferably more about the conflict, but, you know, when I say, like, Chaos versus Order, what usually comes to mind? Todd? What do you usually think of?
There's a specific example in Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Okay.
There was a character called Equinox, and Equinox was created by a god of chaos and a god of order, and they wanted to make a being that could balance out all of it. So they make Equinox, and after a while, Equinox kind of goes insane, and he realizes the only way he can complete pure balance is by essentially nullifying the entire world, like existence. Okay. But that's what I go to because it was specifically like this big god of chaos and this big god of order create him. So that's kind of where I go to first as just a general example.
It's interesting that you say that because my example, and I'm going bottom up, if you could guess, was I went with Dr. Fate, actually, and Karkle or Morgul or Clarence or whoever it is that Dr. Fate is necessarily versing at the time. And Dr. Fate is, in the DC universe for the comics, an agent of order, and he is all about making sure that everything like follows the natural law of the universe, that nothing gets turned into pure chaos, which I guess is like a nihilistic, constantly morphing space, maybe ruled by demons. I don't know. There's a lot of different interpretations of chaos. Maybe we'll talk about it later. But Dr. Fate lives in a helmet, and whoever puts it on pretty much just becomes like a puppet for him to use with his powers of the Ankh, or the cross with the loopy part on the top, which is what I usually call it. And he shows up in a couple of different things. Fireworks, yay! Dr. Fate, yay!
Shut up, Jubilee.
Shut up, Juby. Juba-dooba-doobly. The Dazzler. But the dazzling Anna Cranberry has the floor next.
Yay.
So, what do you have to say on the subject?
Depending if fireworks interrupt me.
It probably will.
I'll let them take their turn.
No, they're canon now. They're part of the universe.
They are also
There's always
canon.
Fireworks up in the Sky Palace.
Yeah, that's right. They're
World.
oppressing our law. Look, this is just
So
a
you're
podcast.
saying it's not fireworks, it's just flag.
Yes. Look, these peasants have been rebelling for months, and we just need a way to revolt against them. So that's why we're doing this podcast. We want to know what you guys think.
As far as law versus chaos,
Yes.
what I think of is the fact that it's immediately paired with good versus evil.
Yes.
There's an inherent belief, or like understanding usually that comes with it, where chaos is related to bad things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that.
I'm sorry if I took it from you.
No, not at all.
We'll all
I'm glad you
talk
brought
about
it
it. We're all friends here.
And then law is usually associated with like peace and
Like-
order.
Very like altruistic, I guess. Like order will prevail as if order is the thing that's supposed to be good, but it doesn't necessarily always have to be.
It's not always that way. Sometimes it's inverted. But yeah, that's what I think of as far as a specific example for that conflict. Jedi versus Sith. Very big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. You know, bringing order to the universe and doing whatever you want, bringing people back to life with lightning. I guess that's how it works.
Although, especially in some more recent things of it, the Sith aren't always evil.
Really? Where does it say that?
If you played the game,
Yes.
a lot of the Sith are actually also lawful. They're just sometimes dicks about it, but they're not like they're not evil. And sometimes the Jedi are like kind of oppressive about it.
Yeah.
By
Well, that
trying
was
to keep things.
with the Jedi and the Sith was a big thing. Was like the Jedi were just like the law and order and stuff like that, but the Sith were like passion and stuff like that, and like qualities that necessarily aren't terrible. They're just usually used poorly. So it was like, if someone had like a lot of like fire in their belly, so to speak, you'd be considered more Sith than you would be Jedi. So I could see where a Sith could be also like on the side of good, but just more reckless.
Well,
Not like you, Padme.
Not like you, Padme. The Sith are so coarse and they get everywhere. Not like you, Padme.
Sith happens.
Sith
happens.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, sorry. There you go.
Yeah. And Chris Moonjump.
All right. Well, I mean, the first example that really comes to mind for me is actually one of my favorite game series, which is the Elder Scrolls universe.
Yay.
And in the Elder Scrolls universe, you have it's order versus chaos, or as they like to phrase it, in that, which I feel in many ways often winds up being kind of a more accurate take, is stasis versus change.
Alrighty.
And effectively, you've got your Aedra, which fight for the cause of
Your
order
gods.
or stasis. Yeah, and then the Daedra, who fight for your change or your chaos.
They're demons. Devils, demons,
but
devils,
they are
demons.
all just they are all just the fragments of a god who is losing his mind, and who eventually, when he wakes up from his nightmare, will snuff the universe out of existence.
Go back to bed. Go back to bed. Don't wake Daddy. Don't Wake Daddy is the name of the Oblivion games.
Actually, yeah, that's very true.
By Milton Bradley. And Bethesda.
Those were always horrifying because they're always like, it shows the kids walking in the hallway and then the dad shoots out of the bed like a zombie. It's like, okay, someone needs to calm down. Or, take one to the brain case. It's important. It's the only way to go down.
Works a night shift at a haunted insane asylum. I mean, that's like the worst job you could probably have. I would be on edge too, even if I was asleep.
Was that in the instruction booklet?
Yeah, of course it is. It's in the back canon.
Yeah.
A man forced to patrol an abandoned insane asylum. But during the day, he's allowed to sleep. At what cost to his children? At what cost? And then you just play the game, and it's fun.
And occasionally you get jump scares.
Whenever he wakes up. Woo! Oh, man, coughing. But a good dose of coffee is the opinion of what Bill, Mr. YuVideo, has to say.
Yay! Actually, it's funny because we just had a big conversation about the lore of this, and my first thoughts is the Warcraft series.
Warcraft, like,
Well, it would be like the first 3 games are kind of more order and chaos. Once you get into WoW, it's just both sides kind of a mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It
the
gets
allies
weird.
and the Horde, yes.
It's everyone's
once
the game.
Once the orcs become more shamanistic people, it there's like the whole chaos. Like actually, that's one of the side stories in Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, is the orcs giving up their connection to essentially their like rage god of chaos. But yeah, like the orcs versus humans in 2 and 3, like kind of what I go
And
to.
orcs versus humans in kind of fantasy seem to be sort of a thing too, or they seem to, in a lot of like these fantasy sort of settings, they have like the beings of order and the beings of chaos. So like your drow, your orcs, your terrible spider people, I guess, and then your elves and your maybe halflings and humans sometimes.
Well, yeah, that was essentially when going back to EverQuest. That was essentially your two like factions. Was you had your like chaotic, good, orderly groups. But that's actually why I really liked Warcraft 3, is because it was one of the first things that I knew of, at least, that took a different look at what orcs could be.
Speaking of different looks, we mentioned earlier, and I think it's a good point to get to about how when it's order versus chaos, it seems like order is inherently good, and chaos is seen as inherently evil. But that's not always the case, or that it just seems to be the status quo. And I know you brought it up, and Todd had brought it up too. So did you want to speak to? I'm going to give the floor to you first, Anna, because it's your birthday and it's Todd's birthday also.
Todd can get it first. It's,
we'll do it together.
Yeah, together.
3, 2, 1, go.
The kingdom of the sky and the kingdom of the sea turtle unite.
No, no, go first.
Oh,
Nope.
No,
after you. No, after. This is the rest of the podcast. No, after you. No, after.
No, when I was thinking of examples for everything with law and chaos, I actually found that I thought of more examples of chaos being on the good side than law, because it's used a lot in a lot of just general media, and even like real life. If you look at it, a dictator represents law and order. A rebellion or like guerrilla forces are a chaos amongst that. So, like, if you have an overbearing, powerful dictator on the other side, like your hero character or whatever, it's gonna be the chaotic one. And like Anna was saying, with especially like the Jedi and the Sith, where like chaos isn't always just madness or whatever. Chaos comes in the form of a hot-blooded hero or something like that. Someone who's just really passionate about everything and just goes up against essentially the machine. So I thought that was actually the more interesting way of going at it. And like I said, that's all, not all of the examples, but a handful of the examples I thought were not the usual law is good and chaos is bad. But I'll hand it over to Anna now, because I've talked so much.
This one is hard for me. And it's just because I don't want to stray too far from it.
Okay.
Because I'm afraid I'm going to turn it into a good versus evil unintentionally.
Well, I think when you're kind of talking about like chaos versus law, because if you look at an alignment chart, I guess just in general, they're kind of all part of the same thing. So it's kind of hard not to talk about good versus evil. And I've kind of avoided good versus evil just because it's so broad. It's such a broad topic. But chaos versus law, not so much all the time. But we'll probably dip into it a little bit. So I do not begrudge you of that, or you, dear listener, for having to suffer through it.
I guess I don't want to get like superfluous with it.
Okay.
Where almost any definition of it, you can flip it around. Just say one is the other depending on the situation, even though it's the same story. So like Todd brought up in Star Wars, like the Rebel Alliance, they're supposed to be the heroes, but they're fucking up shit in the movie, technically. Yeah. So you can flip it either way. An example I actually thought of was Silence of the Lambs for Hannibal Lecter.
Okay.
And then I believe it's is it Clarice?
Agent Starling. Yes.
Clarice. Yeah.
Clarice. Yeah.
Clarice.
Yeah. Sorry.
Explains it all.
Yeah. There you go. Because he's technically the bad guy. He's really just crazy. But he does help her with the case.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
In Red Dragon, which is the third movie technically in that trilogy, or in the book series, I don't know.
It's a third movie, first story, or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the third movie, but it's a prequel technically for Red Dragon. That's where Will Graham comes in, actually, the super empath who can like just identify with any killer and is very, very good at like pinpointing down who it is. First played by Edward Norton. Yeah, he seeks Hannibal Lecter out for counsel, but he's also the one who put him there in the first place. So Hannibal Lecter is just like dicking him around for a little bit, just like giving him false hope, like telling the killer where his family is, like really freaking him out. And then in Silence of the Lambs, he's like, you know what? No, maybe I can actually like help people out a little bit. Maybe it's kind of okay to help people. Maybe chaos is a little bit more fun when I'm screwing up other people's chaos, I guess, or their order, their natural design, if you want to look at it from the perspective of a killer, which is, what Will Graham would do. Also, Hannibal is an interesting series, and I recommend that people watch that maybe later, because it has an interesting take on the criminal psyche. But, no, Chris Moonjump and Bill, Mr. YuVideo, any opinions or thoughts on the matter before I steal it away?
Well, and basically what I was thinking of with the whole good versus evil and order versus chaos is that it, in many ways, it's almost, like we were talking about. There's a definition for it in any situation. Like there's a reason why when D&D was originally set up and Gygax actually separated the two into alignment trees. There's a reason they're kept separate from good and evil, is because they're a modifier of the two, but they can be either. One of the things actually, if you look at it in terms of a modern perspective, democracy is not really law. It's kind of a controlled chaos, because you're dealing with basically everyone can do whatever they want, rather than being like, we have a hard and set things. They shift, they change as opinions change, as people regather their thoughts and everything else. So it's not that either are inherently good or evil, and it is important to make the distinction between the two, because especially when it comes to a story, is having your designated bad guy either be, he can either be the crazy psycho killer, or the terrorist group, or the big Imperium, or anything else. It floats and it varies. It's all about how that is wielded for the story's sake.
And I would agree with that. For you have your like punk bikers who are trying to take down the authority, and then you have your your Robin Hoods, or which are more chaotic good. It is a good description, actually, just calling it a modifier for either of those. Bill, any opinions? No.
No, I don't really have anything to add.
It's
Man of few words.
Man of great action. That's a neutral, and we'll talk about neutral versus super neutral on another podcast. No, it's kind of cool, because while you're thinking of it, Todd, what you mentioned earlier, which is, I can think of a lot more examples now that you mention it too, for someone who is more of a good chaos.
Yeah, when you really start to think about it, like, you'd be surprised how many like examples come to mind where it breaks the standard that everyone kind of goes to.
But why do you think that is the standard, though? That it's like chaos is evil and law is more good? Like that sort of paladin almost mentality of black and white, and order is the natural way of things. And
I think, because I think in general, a person relates a little more to a chaotic side than a lawful side. Just as a general, I mean, we as people, or characters in anything, are a big ball of emotions and stuff like that. We feel things. In essence, we are chaos. So it's easy to relate, I think, to that as going up against like a very rigid, solid, lawful state, where we're all having to control this chaos and put it into a lawful state. So I think a handful of just characters like that, you could relate to a guy who's got a lot of passion because you've got a lot of passion yourself. It's another getting inside your character's head like that. Imagining yourself in that kind of role. I think that's why definitely I could see that as why like a hot-blooded hero or something like that. It's just easy to relate to and easy to root for.
Using more of a almost natural, I guess. Like I guess this is the way that I might think of it, is that chaos is almost natural, so the way that an animal might
it's
live.
Almost primal in a way.
Yeah. Versus like the controlled society or civilization, as one might call it, where civilization is towers and a structured sort of setup with money and coin and roads and things like that, rather than having like tribal city-states with no real leader, but not really a democracy either, but just maybe a chieftain. I don't know. Pure anarchy is weird. Anyway.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Well, and in many ways, I mean, if you want to get deep with this, is that basically the entirety of existence in general is about the fight against entropy, where entropy is fundamentally ultimate chaos and ultimate order.
Nothing.
In that it is the uniform dispersion of energy towards net neutral. So eventually, all energy goes to zero. That's bad. And so in many ways, a lot of the structures and things we set up are about preserving against that decay. And so, yeah, I think it's in many ways, we kind of mentally think about, oh, yeah, well, order's the good side and chaos is the bad side. Because, I mean, for most of human history, it's always been about trying to get out of the nature because that's where the bad stuff happens.
And ideally, like survivalism and trying to make life more accommodating, but when your accommodations sort of overrule that's where the argument for chaos sort of, which I guess is like a sliding rule kind of sort of thing.
Yeah, it is eventually the pendulum swings one way or another.
Yeah. This is more of it's a general episode, so it's more of a general talk, but I figured I will throw it out there. Is there anyone that does it very well or very differently that you guys can think of? I'm going to start with you, Anna, and then I'm going to go to Bill, because I want to let you guys get a word in.
Thanks. What I just thought of actually was a Minority Report.
Minority Report, that's interesting.
Where it is literally there to the point of using psychics to uphold the law. To the point where crimes haven't even been committed yet.
That's right.
And that's not cool. So they are seen as the evil in that movie.
The precogs or
the precogs?
Okay,
I mean, that's how I would define it when it's at the point where they're arresting innocent people
who haven't done shit,
who haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So it's just to the extreme where law becomes the bad one.
And that's the most interesting part. What do you think functions as chaos in that movie?
Well, I mean,
just Tom Cruise because he's crazy.
Well, you get into like the time paradox here, because he changes his timeline technically because he finds out that they're going to do this.
Yeah.
So it gets all messed up. So things get really, really turned around throughout the story, unless it was all planned from the beginning.
Ooh.
If you want like a more straightforward one, similar vein, I would say like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Where the law's just directly taxing people, and Robin Hood says, no, that's not okay, and distributes money. Yay.
I would agree with that. I think Robin Hood is like a really good standard for like a chaos good, almost sort of thing, or just kind of coming down against a system that has wronged its people. No, I don't know. It seems to be the archetype for a lot of movies too. Just what am I thinking of? Besides V for Vendetta and besides Ultraviolet is another movie, I guess, that I would almost put alongside with Robin Hood. Yeah, I know.
You were gonna bring up?
No, maybe for Who Does It Badly, I guess. I don't know. Oh, also Mirror's Edge, I guess, is probably one too. They're all kind of, Robin Hood-esque characters where it's like one individual plus small group takes down totalitarian. Even with the Rebels versus Jedi, it's all kind of based off of that. Yeah, any dystopian future.
Not the utopian future.
No, not utopia, where everything is great and no one opposes our sky castles.
Shut up, peasants.
Shut up! Get it out!
I looked down on your sky castles.
We
Literally. No, I don't have anything
That's
against
good.
them personally.
Everything is
I
below
can see
the
them
moon.
below me.
Well, inside. Well, in space, there's really no. Anyway.
Relatively.
Moving on.
Moving on. To be honest, YuVideo.
To keep with like doing like chaos as the good guys is the Proto
Okay.
Man, I think is a good example of that. The story they came up with for
That
the
is a
Mega
good
Man
example,
games.
too.
Okay.
Well, and because literally in one song it ends with "We are your hope, we are in control, we keep you
What is
safe."
the backstory behind the Protoman? Well, that
you never listened
maybe
to
the
it?
listeners would like to know too.
I just assume
the
everyone
listeners
knows it.
should check the Proto Men out, by the way.
And if you don't, maybe we'll
Yes.
provide a link.
So the original self-titled Proto Man CD is the story of Proto Man. Like the first song opens with Proto Man getting killed, and you kind of get the story about how Dr. Wily took over by stealing, like essentially controlling all technology and sending Dr. Light off, and Dr. Light in secret builds robots to fight like the New World Order. And you get a little bit more with Act 2 as their second album.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's like the totalitarian like controls everything, and then the like small group of resistance
Kind of comes up against them.
And it's a rock opera, so it ends terribly.
It does. It is so sad.
For everyone involved. Oh gosh. Can't wait to listen to that.
I think all the, there are many great works of dystopian literature where they all end poorly.
If you hear the word
Just
opera,
operas in
it's
general
not going to
are
be a
always
good time by the end.
They're usually associated with tragedy, aren't they? How about that? But what's not tragic is the opinion of Chris Moonjump.
Well, in terms of one of the games I played here recently that I really enjoyed was Virtue's Last Reward, where basically, it deals both with kind of the concept of time travel and things like that, but the group of people they give you are very interesting, and it's because they're written like real people. And the one thing that I think is almost very important is kind of is a saying like from Alexander Solzhenitsyn, that, the line between good and evil or order and chaos in this runs between the heart of every man, and realizing that everyone to some extent has the capacity to function passionately or out of control, and sometimes they realize this need for their own self-control or for controlling the group. And basically in Virtue's Last Reward, you're all put in a game where there's 9 of you, and inevitably someone's going to murder the other because situations dictated or things escalate or anything else. But depending on how you play the game, that person or people shifts constantly. Hell, even you do. You're actually you're not above that impulse either. So the one thing that's actually very interesting with it is to see how, depending on the situations that people get stuck in, you might have someone who's normally the hothead in the group basically freaking out and telling everyone to, it's time to calm down. We need to, if we're going to survive this, we need to do this, even though it's completely out of character. But in the situation, it's the one way he sees to be able to act the best way he can. And so I think it's always very interesting to see that, there's, it's like you said, the paladin who runs around fighting for justice 100% of the times and things like that, most of the time is a very easy way to write a character, but they're usually a very flat character as well.
But usually that character is just kind of there to provide conflict, or there to, say, the world is black and white, and someone says, well, what about this one shade of gray? And they say, you're probably a heretic, so I'm going to have to kill you now.
So,
no compromise, even in the face of Armageddon.
Nope. I love that. I love that poster.
And see, that is one that I absolutely, for a series that does order and chaos and things like that, is the Warhammer series, especially the Warhammer fantasy it's a pretty generic fantasy for the most part, but the 40K series, If you want to talk
Yes.
about the dealing with order and chaos, I mean, there you go.
Mhm.
Gene stealers who basically will devour a planet dry, and
Yep.
consume souls, not just, but are just a malevolent, chaotic force.
Blood Angels and
Yeah,
for the
and
Emperor
and
and
even
Cord.
and even within the Imperium of Man, you have a lot of different sects that either are fully devoted to the Emperor or fully devoted to their clan line, and some
Yep.
that
Just
aren't. Yeah,
Space Marines.
and you want to talk about an unwavering order? I mean, they're willing to scorch planets and things like that because it might actually be able to keep the chaos that would devour the universe at bay. Maybe.
Mhm. The thing about Warhammer 40k is that the particular contributor of this prompt may or may not play some Warhammer 40k and may or may not be into Space Marines and Battle Brothers. And it's a very interesting universe. We've talked, me and this particular listener. Hello, Nate. Thank you for submitting this particular prompt. We'll talk about like the Chaos guys and how instead of the bonuses for someone of law, instead of like getting a better gun or having like better materials or being able to channel like the divinity of the ever living emperor, is for the Chaos Marines that their guns will pretty much like morph and go like more and more chaotic. So it's like rusted and crazy, but it's like transforming with them as they get crazier and crazier. Which kind of adds to a risk-reward sort of thing where it might be super powerful, but it might just like shoot little pew-pew bullets that are kind of rusty and outdated. I don't know. It's the Warhammer 40k universe is really rich. It's I like one description, which is that law is actually more just a lighter shade of black.
Yeah.
Instead of it being like evil and good, it's just extreme and double extreme.
Because even when you deal with like the Tau, who are like hardcore order,
yep,
to the point where if you don't cooperate with them, they see you as a chaotic force and will remove you. It's not that they have anything against you. It's just you're either with them or against them.
They say, hey, sandwiches are really good. And they say, I like mine with a little bit of mustard. And they say, well, you can fucking die then. And then they'll murder you straight
Oh, and it's part of the whole thing, like within, the God Emperor actually, in many ways, they keep him on life support on the throne to be able to basically navigate ships and be able to fight the forces of chaos beyond the veil, right? Well, The other thing in that universe is that he is the most powerful psychic to have ever lived, ever, by leaps and bounds. But to be able to keep him fighting the forces of chaos, because he's gone into a vegetative state, they have to sacrifice thousands of psychically enabled people a day to be able to keep him running. And it's a very interesting order versus chaos, because they're doing objectively bad things, but weighed against the literal extinction of the universe is kind of puts it in a perspective. But the other thing is that they also don't know. It's entirely possible that you could release all of his psychic energy by removing him from his vegetative state, and he would actually be able to wipe out chaos once and for all and win, and everyone would be happy, and there'd be puppies on their giant flying churches. Or chaos could win forever, so they don't know, so they prefer the order of what they do now, even though, because they can make one chaotic decision, and it could go great, or it could not.
Just keeping this old man alive, just in this horrible vegetative state that they just pray to, this old man on life support, just all of these people praying to super hard, being all about it all the time. It's, my gosh. That universe is really crazy. Okay, so when I think of chaos and order, I go to D&D. We talk a lot about the alignment charts and what it sort of means, but I actually go to the planes of pure order and pure chaos for what I think makes it kind of cool or different. Yeah, there are different variations. In the 4th edition, they have the Astral Sea, which is like this beautiful, like kind of ocean. It's not like outer space. It's like an ocean that you sail on, and it has all of the planes of existence up there. It's got a heaven and a hell, and they're on their own little floating islands, and everything is neat and orderly, and wow, cool. Then you have the Eternal Chaos, which is just this flowing, constantly changing mass of solids and liquids and gases and air, just changing into elements and shapes and horrible things and never staying the same for more than moments or altoseconds at a time. It's absolutely nuts for what 4th edition is, because they keep them like kind of in the same realm but not really. But the ones that catch my eye are in 3.5 and 3 respectively, the lawful plane of Mechanus, which is just a giant clock, pretty much. The residents who live there are just like clockwork. It's pretty much called Clockwork Nirvana. The people that live there are ants as the fucking residents of just pure order. Everything is planned out, everything is timed. It's like Clock King's wet dream, pretty much, from the DC universe. The beings that live there are just absolute angels of order. They have like a Grim Reaper for order, and we talked about him when we mentioned what is it called, Prince of Persia 2, of all things, where if you avoid death, this angel just comes out of nowhere and says, "Hey, you avoided death way too many times," and you go, "I'm sorry, man," and he goes, "No, I'm taking you back to hell or heaven or wherever. No, I'm taking you back to the clock prisons," and you're like, "No, I hate time," and he just he's got big meaty fists with like lightning veins all over him. He's crazy. There's all kinds of angels that are just like, if you break a deal that's made with like a god, this one angel will come out of nowhere, and it looks like a centaur with like a faceless mask. It's crazy stuff for the people that live in just like this clock hell. And I think the other one is, well, there's Limbo, but I usually just think of the one that they kind of do in but like the 4th edition one, which is just where it's constantly changing, and it is just, how do you exemplify pure chaos? Because it can't stay in like a solid state, or it could be water that you breathe while you're upside down and your lungs are made out of cheese. It's just nonsensical chaos. For what even reality is, and we could go into H.P. Lovecraft, but I know I dote on H.P. Lovecraft at least once an episode.
Oh no!
Oh no! Not Event Horizon! No! Todd, take the wheel!
I like, my example seems so blasé compared to centaur angels, but which sounds so chaotic in itself. But of a movie, I think that is a really good example of chaos and law is the Lego Movie.
I was actually thinking about that earlier.
Yeah, because the master builders in it are pure chaos. They just tap into whatever and they build whatever. And the main society of it and Lord Business are all this like really strict, you have to follow the rules, do this, now do this, now do this. And you get your main character, Emmett, who
Spoiler?
is a little bit of both. He's like, he really wants to be like the master builders, where he like kind of like comes up with these crazy things, but he's lived under the law so long and whatnot that he's kind of like integrated into that. So I won't go too deep into the whole thing because 2-year rule. But it's a really good example of using law and chaos like kind of equally and figuring out what the solid ground between the two of them are. Because like the master builders have a hard time working together because they're all so chaotic, and the Lord Business side is so rigid that it has to be done a certain way. And I think it was just a really good example to show the toss up between chaos and Order, and there's a little twist that really goes into a little bit more of it, but yeah, I won't get into that at all. Yep. So, but that was my I thought that was like a really good example. And another good example I have for that is Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz. Oh my god.
Because and that's another one where the your main character he epitomizes law and order. Yeah. He's like the super cop. And
he's Dredd, which we haven't talked about, but
yeah. Yeah. And even like the city council and all that in there they go by that very, very law kind of thing. And actually, over the course of the movie, the main character, Nicholas, actually becomes more chaotic. So it's an interesting kind of like metamorphosis that they go through for that. And the sidekick character really kind of teaches him a little bit of the chaotic stuff. So I thought it was a really good example of just kind of showing how a character isn't just restrained to an order or a chaos, that they could kind of find a balance between the two of them. Yeah. I think those were both,
find balance in the Force?
Very good examples of it. Yeah. No, that's haven't we talked enough about Star Wars?
We've never talked enough about Star Wars, Todd. 2 scoops of Star Wars in every podcast,
But yeah, those are my examples.
Yeah, well, not to force the issue, but no. What I like about the Lego Movie, especially because it's like done in kind of that chaos sort of filter, where it's like, yeah, making whatever is fun. Versus building what you want. That was a really fun movie. And I forgot your other example as soon as I got into the Lego Movie. Hot Fuzz. Thank you. Not Cold Fuzz, which is a movie just about grizzly bears. Isn't that adorable? It's a fun time.
Is that actually a thing?
No.
Oh.
It is when we make it. Don't we all? We all just like bears. If you like bears, give us a like or subscribe. Leave a winking polar bear face, which I think is a :3. There's a triangle button somewhere on your keyboard. You just have to find it.
Or you could show him in a snowstorm and just do a bunch of spaces.
That's true. You could just do a bunch of spaces and then a little colon, and that's fun. But for Hot Fuzz, that's a good example of like order and super order or minor order, but just done really, really seriously.
It's like, yeah, it's like order and then like mega order.
But that's a good example. I did want to mention Demolition Man, since I didn't do a twofer. The movie with Sylvester Stallone and I forgot the opposing character.
Wesley Snipes.
Thank you, and Sandy Bullock
and Pan
and Butter Golems. But Wesley Snipes just sort of playing this like crazy Dennis Rodman kind of guy. It's an interesting commentary on society where it gets like a little bit too reined in by order, because I think order is pretty much just placing those restrictions on yourself, more or less. It's like how much do we give in to passion versus how much do we restrain ourselves, almost to a like imprisonment sort of way. And Demolition Man is very interesting about like societal norms, like you can't curse, you can't even think about sex, everything is streamlined, everything is very placated down to what's good for everyone. It's kind of communism, but not really. It's a very interesting take if you haven't seen it. It's very dated, but it's super fun. And it plays that like ultra violence versus very placated, everything is censored way down to the last drop kind of sort of thing.
And every restaurant
is a Taco Bell. It doesn't matter what you have.
Unless it was the UK version of the movie in which everything was a Pizza Hut.
Why did they make that
fun
change?
little fact?
Because they don't have Taco Bells in the UK. That's hilarious.
See, and now, if we released it today, we could have the
of a Pizza Hut Taco Bell. That's right.
Pizza Hut.
Oh man,
a Taco Hut, a Pizza Bell. Order up. That when I can do an out-of-context joke with the bell. That's kind of fun. But speaking of bad uses for the bell, who does it badly or makes it redundant?
Can I go there? Okay.
Yes.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I did it. There you go.
To force the issue. Just.
Oh, and
why did you ring the bell? We've already made that
I did
joke.
make that joke, but I don't know. Just.
You're really forcing that joke.
I just have to sit here and deal with it. Just pod racing right to the end of it.
well, and because basically,
Now that's what I call podcasting.
There it is.
that's
So
the
wizard.
one we were looking for.
Like the droids, right?
Yes.
That's what you were going
yeah.
for? Okay.
Okay, well, and basically the reason why I say Star Wars does the order versus chaos poorly
Yes.
is because in many ways what you're dealing with in the movies, because everyone kind of assumes that it basically you assume that the Luke and his team are the chaos, but they were originally the order. They were just trying to get back to being the order again.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Sith have always been the chaos masquerading as order in many ways. And I think it's one of the things where part of the reason they do it poorly is because each of their characters winds up being a very bland, like effectively once you become a Jedi, you resign your personality. And the same thing with being a Sith is.
I wouldn't say you resign your personality so much as it's like you really hinder yourself. You really categorize yourself because it's really just like you're restricting yourself from I will have no wife, I will have no lands, I will not love, I will not like do anything for emotions.
Yeah.
Yoda's got a lot of personality.
Yeah.
Well, because
He's crazy and lives in a swamp.
That's later on. That's when he has nothing left to live for.
but it's also one of those things where, unfortunately speaking, Yoda did not lift a finger like the other Jedis when the shit went down.
Yeah.
Well, no, he lifted some fingers and then stuff floated in the air. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the kind of bell I
This is a kind of general. It's a general joke. It's a general podcast.
But yeah, it's one of those
win or Jedi.
where I've always had a very big problem with the order aspect of the Jedi in the Star Wars universe. Because literally, I mean, outside of some of the examples that they try to use for movies, where you get people like Luke or Obi-Wan or things like that, is you have to remember, Obi-Wan was outcast from the Order effectively, and
I guess.
And the whole thing is that the Jedi, who are supposed to be your force of order and to make sure that the light pushes forward, literally do nothing when bad shit happens. They kind of just expect and hope for it to take care of itself.
Yeah. The space nuns.
Yeah. But the problem is that how can you call someone like that truly ordered if they're not willing to do anything about it?
You have to fill out a lot of paperwork to do nothing. Very bureaucratic.
Whereas, the Sith have people where, if you read the extended universe canon, have, some of the Sith lords that are not old and wrinkly and shoot lightning out of their fingers can do things like hate planets to death. Which is awesome.
I know some people with that power.
Is it J-Max and only TGI Fridays?
but their TGI Fridays emissaries from other planets keep settling down, so he's got a lot of enemies to contend with.
And the whole thing is that, in many ways, the Star Wars universe does not treat their equal threats very seriously.
Yeah.
So there doesn't wind up being any tension outside of the story that you view in a Star Wars movie. And I think that's in many ways it's because the dogma and doctrine of the Force is thrown on as an afterthought by George Lucas. He made a really cool space fantasy story, but he's an okay writer. Don't get me wrong, I love the Star Wars universe. It's just...
Well, it's when he's got people that are, looking over his work, telling him if it's good or not and making changes.
Or otherwise
as opposed
make
to
funny lizards.
Make it. Yeah. We've already talked enough about the Gungans in the underwater episode that you can also look at Utropeia podcast on the YouTube. Maybe coming to an iTunes near you. But what's coming up next is Bill and Mr. YuVideo. Who do you think does it poorly?
What?
Yeah, who do you think does it poorly?
I was waiting for this since I heard the topic.
Yes.
Shadow
the Hedgehog. So dark, so brooding.
The damned fourth Chaos Emerald.
Chaos Emeralds. My emeralds.
Yeah, that game could have done that a bit better.
Well, it's a lot of games that have like the chaos bar though, or like the good bar. It's, I don't know, the Mr. Good bar, if you will. Just peanuts to everyone.
Or just Shadow the Hedgehog himself is also kind of like
the ultimate life form.
Oh, we just need a counterpoint to Sonic. But that game, like, I'll defend it to an extent, but it is not a good, like.
Because what are the choices between like chaos and order?
Well, each mission you have the standard, just get to the end, and then you have the good and bad missions, and it's just. The reason I say it's done poorly, because, like, you could go, like, 3 missions in doing, like, the bad, and then you do one good, and, like, Shadow's like, oh, I'm not a bad guy. Or you could do, like, a bunch of good missions, then you do a bad one, then he's like, I hate the world.
And, you know, that's almost an entirely other episode of alignment systems in general.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, because there's a lot of them that are just not good like that.
No, that's a really good point. In a lot of video games where it has like the, you know, alignment system pretty much is a good way to just call it, where you make a series of decisions and then your end kind of comes out with the outcome. But even then it doesn't really matter. And I didn't mean to peek, but I saw one of your examples actually. Would you like to speak about who does it poorly?
What example did you look at?
Oh, I was looking at Mass Effect. Or Fable, sorry.
Fable. Oh, yeah. Well, Fable, I mean, you choose what you want. Before I finish that, though, I want to tell this story to our viewers related to Bill's example.
Okay.
One time, after watching a movie, Ben and I went back to the car, and parked next to us was a blue car with the license plate Chaos Control.
Oh, awesome.
Half of the car was decorated with Sonic
the Hedgehog dolls.
And the other half was Shadow.
Oh, it was like, such a balance between the light and dark.
The eternal battle.
It was blue. It was like a blue Fiat.
I think that's the best part, that it's like a tiny car
God.
Filled with just
like
Sonics and Shadows.
It was right down the line.
Right down the middle, even the car seats.
Even the rear view mirror hanger. Like one doll was Sonic and the other was Shadow. It was split right down the middle.
Well, at least there was good theming.
It was pretty well themed, I will say.
He like air quoted when he said good.
Quotation marks.
It's good theming.
But it goes along the same theme that Bill was talking about with Shadow the Hedgehog with Fable. It's, you know, order and chaos, but they kind of view order as good and chaos as evil anyway.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even bother trying to define anything. Like, you are just supposed to be assumed to be the good one.
Yeah.
Even if you're completely terrible.
There's no real bonus for being evil or chaotic and killing people and doing stuff. Like, the only bonus is that you, like, get more money, maybe, at the end. You have to, like, at the end game of Fable 3, you have to raise enough money to, like, start an army to keep entropy at bay, more or less. The nothingness, the blackness, the inky nothing that lives inside all of us. But it's actually coming from that desert place way over there. There's really no benefit to having people hate you. like to being evil is just that people don't like you. They fear you, they boo at you, and sometimes they'll attack you or do stuff like that. And the only bonus is because you're evil is that you get more money, maybe? I don't know. That's about it. And I would agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. And in Mass Effect, has it been over 2 years since the end of that game? I think it is.
I think it has been.
Yeah, so look, the ending of Mass Effect was kind of a bummer because it has really cool like conversation trees, like a whole bunch of stuff. It could have been handled much better.
Nothing mattered.
No, nothing mattered.
In the ending. That's pretty much how it
at
was.
the end, it came down to what color do you want your explosion to be, and Pank. I wanted it to be Pank. I shop at Victoria's Secret, and I'm Commander Shepard.
I
love Pank. Well, nope, that was an accident, but I'll take it.
I'll take it. I want to switch gears, though.
Okay.
Can I talk about a really weird one?
I guess.
That came to mind. Element.
Okay.
Is really
What?
bizarre. Yes, because
I'm listening.
you have the priests and this weird alien race that are like trying to stop this evil.
The
that
armadillos,
occurs.
yes.
Yeah. And the evil force I never really understood in that movie.
Ruby Rod.
It's super green.
Chris Tucker. Yeah. Green is the color of chaos. Go on.
Yeah, it's I guess supposed to be like a sci-fi standard where it's like, you know, the impending doom.
Mm-hmm.
It's some unknown evil. It's gonna massacre everybody, but it never happens. So you don't really.
Nope.
I'm getting all the bells.
I'm not
really know
even
what
trying. It's just happening.
It's like a planet.
It's the chaos bell. No, chaos bell. No, stop it. Okay, I got it under control. You can go.
Yeah, I don't know. They don't really explain it, but it's just existing in that universe without the story being about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's just bizarre to me. And then the main character doesn't really play a role in either.
You mean Zorg?
Yes.
Okay.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
He is both law and chaos.
He kind of is.
He kind of is. That's what that man can act as anybody.
That man can shave the half of his head and then put a weird, like, sneeze guard on the other half.
Is a very bizarre Dracula.
Yeah, he's...
That man can be both Sonic and Shadow.
That old man can be whatever he wants.
He does not care about his daughter in Batman.
No, he doesn't.
Master Wayne.
Master Wayne. I'm Two-Face. Which, let's see which person you care about the most. Holds the gun to his wife. No, we can talk this out. Holds the gun to his daughter. Come on, man. Like, no, it'll all be cool. I'm not going to be, bullied by you. Holds the gun to his son. No, not my son. Not my beautiful son. No. I'll give you what you want.
It's not
Batman.
like my daughter will be back.
Just gonna throw... Just throw all those cards right on the table there.
No!
It's so shitty to me. Like, it's in front of his family. The rest of them are like, really? Like,
he holds the gun back over to, like, his wife.
Thanks, Dad.
Come on, we can talk about this. Back over to maybe him. Just like, I'm not afraid of you. Back to his daughter. Come on, man. We can go through this. Back to his son. No, not my son! Not my beautiful son! Holds the gun to himself. Well, now you're just being silly. Back
Gordon
to the
does
son.
not-
No!
No, that's just ridiculous.
Professor. Commissioner Gordon, just in a poker game. Just, okay, we're all going to bet something of big value. I'm going to bet my car. I'm going to bet my car too, guys. This is silly. Come on. Well, I'm going to bet my son. No, not my son! Not my beautiful son!
He goes to everything. His son has like a cavity. He's going to the dentist. No,
not my son.
No.
Not my beautiful son. All right, Commissioner Gordon, we got to take down one of these celestial bodies from your office because it's taking up way too much room. Just is Jupiter okay? Yeah, we can take out Jupiter. How about Pluto? Yeah, that's not even a planet anymore. Don't worry about it. How about the sun? No, not my son. No, my beautiful son.
The build-up on
that. We could all see it coming.
You knew it was gonna happen, but you were just waited in bated breath for
not my
the
son,
punchline.
Not my beautiful son. For my sunshine. No, not my beautiful sunshine.
That's how Gordon became Zorg.
Zorg. Just shaved off half of his head.
Comes full circle.
Put a sneeze guard on the half he shaved off because he wants it to look nice and not get any germs on it.
Because the embodiment of evil in the Fifth Element is just like a dark sun.
Yeah. No, not my son. Not my dark son.
There you go. Backstory to the Fifth Element.
It's good.
What a beautiful tale.
Future Gotham's weird. Todd, who do you think does it badly or makes it redundant?
I really kind of racked my brain. I couldn't come up with anything really solid of like an example of who does it poorly. I think just in general, to do it poorly is like the standards is not kind of thinking out of the box. Is like, the good guys all follow the rules and the bad guys are all crazy like. I think it's just like not putting enough thought into it, and kind of it's just going like the standard. Like I said, I don't have a really good one besides you guys covered those examples really well. But yeah, I don't have like a really solid one, but I think just sticking to a pattern is kind of doing it poorly.
Can I shoot one at you? Actually?
Sure.
You're a Green Lantern man. You enjoy a lantern that has blue and yellow in it.
Brightest day and blackest night.
I would argue that with the inclusion of the new core, that maybe the Green Lantern series isn't the best example of law versus chaos anymore because of all of the new elements that are being thrown in there.
Yeah, like with the emotional spectrum, I say yes, and I say no as well. The emotional spectrum is kind of interesting when it comes to a law and chaos kind of thing, because you have in the middle of it you have green, which represents your willpower, which is just keeping everything logical in order. On the very ends of those spectrums, on both sides, you have red and violet, which are
hate?
Those rage and love. Respectively. But those are the wearers of those rings are controlled by their rings, where you have the Green Lanterns who are in complete control of their rings, and then the various ones in between are kind of levels of that. But like it's kind of an interesting way to look at it, and it's another one of those like, okay, discipline equals order and emotion equals disorder. It's Jedi and Sith all over again. But yeah, it's kind of a coin flip, I think, either way, whether it could be used. If it's done right, it could be used as a very good example. If it's done poorly, it could be kind of a bad example. It's like the Red Lanterns are kind of seen more as like the antagonists, where your Violet Lanterns are usually seen more as your allies.
They can be, but at the same time, they're those.
And both, there's examples on both sides where the Violets can be horrible, and the Reds can be very righteous.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
It's an interesting example because it can go kind of either way. I think it's just the way you use it.
Yeah. I guess as a good crash course to kind of say for yourself, I'd watch the animated Green Lantern series.
Oh, the animated Green Lantern series was fantastic.
That was, I think, well, it's good because it streamlines everything. It's everything that's kind of like blackest day, brightest night. I don't care that I mix them up anymore. But you know, during that period of time, and now that everything's kind of, the dust has settled and we're in New 52 land, and Larfleeze has his own comic, and he's kind of the hero, but kind of not.
Yeah.
It's
the animated series was fantastic. I suggest, if you're a fan of superheroes in general, and if you're a Green Lantern fan, you should really love it. They do a lot of exploring of the mythos in it, and they made Hal Jordan an interesting character, which is a difficult thing to do.
I know. Thanks, Ryan Reynolds.
So yeah, definitely that's another one to check out. So go watch some Munchausen and some Green Lantern, the animated series.
But don't get Munchausen syndrome, which is not very good. It worked out for Eminem, but everyone else not so much.
Yeah, you want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And listen to the Proto Men as well.
And listen to the Proto Men.
Do all three of them at the same time. Set up like a home entertainment system. Just do that. And you know what? Because we've been talking about it, just play Star Wars in the background somewhere.
No, just read a book.
You know what? Just avoid all that. Just read a book.
Just read a book. You know what? Just don't do what we say at all. Just go to the beat of your own drum, or rein it in, and say exactly as what we say. Utopia is love. Utopia is life. Utopia is love. Utopia is life. Over and over again, just like chocolate milk. And speaking of dead uncles, is there a way that we can improve the trope or just make it better? Is there a new sort of way to see it? Actually, Just for this ending segment, I think I'm going to kind of change it to, is there just stuff that you want to see more of? Maybe as well, because sometimes we can't really think of a way to improve something, or we can't kind of break out of what there is. I mean, it's good to kind of go into that, I think, from time to time, just to improve something or to think about something differently. But maybe the first step can also just be, seeing more of something that's a little bit uncommon, but that we kind of already talk about. So yeah, I'm just going to open it up for everyone. So first call is first serve, pretty much. So who wants this chicken wing? Got it. Last one? No one? Just me?
Well, the one thing I really think is...
Sorry. I'll make more. I'll make more.
Okay. You and your damn chicken wings.
I love them. They're good.
It's true. But the one thing I think is really important, especially when it comes to crafting a story, especially when dealing with Law and Order, because you almost you have to pick an alignment like that for your characters. I've actually seen something as a writing tool for a lot of creative writing classes, where basically they tell you to have a story and they give you the old D&D alignment charts, and every one of your characters should be a permutation on that chart. So you should have a lawful good and a lawful evil and and a chaotic good and a chaotic evil, and go through the whole thing. And basically set your characters to their archetypes and try to make a story with it and still hold them true the whole way through it. The one thing I think that's really important when it comes to crafting very believable characters, though, is to understand that, perfect order is almost as equally boring as perfect chaos.
Mm-hmm.
In that, perfect order is crystalline in its structure. There is no flexibility. But the same thing can be said of trying to write a story of someone who is just strictly, purely chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not even that they're crazy or they're a conspiracy theorist or anything else, because there's an inherent structure to that.
Yes.
But having a character who just sits there and laughs and pulls wings off butterflies and runs around like a crazy person, wears pants on his head, does stuff like that, will never actually get you a story, because a story has a structure to it inherently. But
pretty much just an episode with Gurr from Invader Zim.
Yeah. But imagine if you literally had to watch an entire episode where Gurr did nothing but flop around the ground like an idiot.
You know how much money that would make? You know how into that people would be? You know how much merch?
Sell so much stuff.
That's just for thinking exactly what I was thinking.
But on the other side, the perfect order means that nothing in your story changes, and that's the other important thing of a story, because stories are structured by their beginning, middle, and end.
Conflict.
But conflict is what drives a story through that structure.
Yes.
So whenever you make a character, it's the same way as crafting a story. You have to have both.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And every character should be not necessarily one or the other, but a degree of each.
Bill, I'm going to send it off to you next, because I think, did I skip over you for Who Does It Badly?
No.
Okay.
We talked about Shadow.
Bueno. Oh, yes.
Oh, hey,
probably because I keep trying to forget about it. You're aboard the Ark, and Billy scientist, I am the Eggman. Not Shadow. It's the Eggman.
This is another one that I don't think I have recommendations to improve.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that has been done so much that I think anything I could think of it's probably been done.
Maybe, but is there more that you think you'd like to see? Maybe. That's something. Make it interesting. Gosh. Alrighty.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just not on the ball tonight.
Well, it's for these. The thing is that we like to do these broader topics or these generals, just to kind of try and tackle it, because there are some tropes that are just huge, just Xbox size huge, just big controllers. You can't even use them. You don't even know how to work. It's insane. But yeah, for these bigger ones, it's just we're kind of trying to get a pinpoint in it and talk about it a little bit, and maybe as we do other tropes, we'll talk more about chaos and law and their kind of roles. I mean, we've already touched on good versus evil a little bit, and that's one it seems like it should be a 3-hour podcast pretty much, for how much there is there and how much it is just the classic story. But no, I mean, just kind of setting it up differently. I can think of more examples of kind of chaos being like our viewpoint and law being the system that you sort of take down. I don't know. I guess I'd be more interested in seeing, and I think Dimsdale, aka Sacred, mentioned it before, is a chaos character who wants to see good things happen rather than like throwing a grenade into like a bunch of children just to see how they react. Instead of like an inverse Joker almost, like doing good deeds and just watching people like pretty much freak out and fall apart because it's like, you gave me so much money. Why would you give me so much money? It's insane. You earned it too. What is this? Something like that, maybe. Like a place pocket, if you will. Just instead of stealing your money, they just give you money. They hold you at gunpoint and say, take my money. Shut up and take my money. I guess that'd be my 2 cents, I guess. Wow, I rambled a lot. Hey, Todd, what do you think?
I think Chris touched on a lot of the good things that, in general, you could use to your advantage. And I'll go back to just what I was saying earlier about kind of just, like, thinking outside the box with it.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, kind of exploring, like Chris said, a character with both sides. Kind of like a balanced character, kind of like that. Yeah, I think just kind of, like, exploring both sides equally is a good way to go. Not, like you said, not having your laughing mad chaos and your, stiff as a board order. Is just kind of, like, exploring that, like, maybe you have a character who's very chaotic, who has to learn law, or you have your very lawful character who has to learn a bit of chaos, and kind of developing character because of that, or story.
Yeah, and the one thing that I think is always important on the storycraft side of it is one thing that always kind of bugs me in stories in general is when the actions of the story, the character literally is the same beginning to end.
No change.
Is let's say that someone who, let's say you take that story of your paladin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the paladin is constantly dealing with forces of chaos. But in many ways what it does is it forces him to be more chaotic. He takes those experiences away.
He gets that sense in his mind where he has to, like, think, okay, I can't accomplish this by doing it straight by the book.
Yeah.
And kind of flying by the seat of his pants.
The Grey Guard Paladins, aka the Rapist Paladins, where they're just awful. It's a horribly coined term, but it's like, no guys, torture is super cool. You can totally do whatever you want. Anything, it's like by any means necessary is pretty much what it is.
Or you have your character who's like the reverse of that, where they're kind of like that loose cannon kind of character, but they learn they have to do something about a straight and narrow to accomplish something.
Well,
so
and to give an example of the flip side of that coin, actually, and what makes him a very compelling character, I think, in many ways, is the Joker. The Joker is someone who starts out in the comic series and in general just being a chaotic evil.
Mm-hmm.
He does shit because it amuses him.
Well, and that's the cool thing about the Joker is he is chaos, but he won't do something just because. He'll do something because it's funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, he's being chaotic, but if it doesn't make sense that it's funny, then he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
He's not just going to walk up to someone on the street and shoot them just cause.
Yeah, but the one thing that in many ways makes, the Joker one of Batman's most dangerous villains is the fact that the Joker has hit that wall so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And what he's experienced in things from his life of trying to be a criminal eventually winds up is what makes him a criminal mastermind, is that he adapts to the fact that he needs a structure to be able to pull these insane things.
Yeah, and
because like I said, like the logistics required to take one of Batman's charges is pretty extreme.
Well, and when you look at it, Batman himself is a very chaotic and law
character.
There's There's somewhere I had seen there's an entire alignment chart of just Batmans.
I like how chaotic evil is just him kicking a kid with an ice cream cone.
Yeah, who would kick a guy eating ice cream?
Just chocolate ice cream? Is Batman Saker? Just hates chocolate?
Does work really closely with the police, though.
Saker?
With Gordon, no. Maybe.
Whoop,
I don't know.
This is the police.
This is one of the only stories I've seen where the hero main character is actually appreciated by the police most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually they're inexplicably hated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's also still that vigilante.
Yeah. No,
so
I'm
they
not
can't
saying
trust him
he's
completely.
with the law, but
but he's very they know he's there. I mean, they call him with a big light in the sky.
Yeah.
So.
It's not just Spider-Man, a menace and a danger and chocolate milk to society. It's just my uncle.
It's chocolate milk to society.
I know that was a bad segue, but look, we've all got to die sometime.
Just like the bad segue that went off the cliff with its owner and creator on top of it.
This one, you did it, Todd. You finally were the one to make the joke. It was you this time, not me, not Chris.
I'm the monster now.
Anna and Bill haven't even done it yet, but it was you.
I will never do it.
This is exactly what I was talking about.
Do what?
Character growth.
Exactly.
Todd has had character growth, and that's Utropeia canon.
That's Utropeia canon. All right. Any other final words or thoughts?
I know we're running out of time.
Yeah. This is a meaty one.
We're pretty much out of time. But there's one I got really excited about that I realized we didn't even mention.
Yes.
Coming up soon is a movie called The Purge.
The Purge.
Which is literally a movie where law is disregarded for 24 hours.
For 24 hours. So if you're out on the street after the sun goes down on a certain day, time's up, motherfucker. It's metal. It's so metal. And it's so good. Well, the first movie was just a break-in kind of home invasion, people go into someone's house and they're like, well, everything's legal, so, do this horrible stuff. And then it's like a revenge sort of thing after that. But no, this new one makes it sound really cool. Just street punks are everywhere. It's a terrible manhunt. It's like Escape from New York, but, the world. It's Escape from the World, pretty much, which is awesome. But no, I'm super pumped for that. Maybe we'll do maybe we should start doing commentaries about certain movies because we reference certain ones all the time.
This has been brought up before, actually.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm super down on it. Okay, but are we? All right, I think I'm gonna have to put the kibosh on this actually because we are at a hefty, meaty hour 30 right now for how long we've been going. That's it's orderly because it's just a half more, but it's a little chaotic because it's not what we usually do.
It's not the hour.
And I'll try and upload it all in one go, and we'll see. If not, I'll cut it in half and do a little intro. But if it doesn't happen, then this is all getting cut out. Okay, but yeah, I think I'm going to call this episode "Not My Beautiful Son." If anyone has any objections, they can speak now.
I have no objection.
No.
Unless you're trying to hurt my son.
No, not my beautiful son.
That's how Batman got to work closely with Zorg.
Commissioner Zorgan.
What do you think Commissioner Gordon's favorite day of the week is?
No, my beautiful Sunday. Alrighty, and with that...
That is well described.
And with that, I'm going to do the sign-off. Me, Todd, and then back up top and down. Thank you all for listening to the Utropeia podcast. I am your host, Ken, Pumpkin.
And I'm Todd. Thanks for joining me on my turtle.
Soupy.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, let's start this again.
Not my beautiful son.
It's so chaotic.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
See you later.
Yeah, I get to be the last one.
All right. And until we talk geek next week, bye-bye. Okay, I forgot. The prompt for next week is superheroes without powers. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye-bye!